Every morning, Japanese elders begin with deliberate stretching. These are not the hurried, mechanical stretches we often perform before a workout, but slow, intentional movements that awaken each joint, tendon, and muscle fiber. From a physiological perspective, gentle stretching improves circulation, preserves joint elasticity, and fine-tunes the nervous system, enhancing balance and coordination. Yet there is more than science at work here. Each reach, each lengthening, carries a rhythm, a quiet mindfulness that honors the body's inherent wisdom. It is a daily act of listening, a recognition that our muscles, joints, and connective tissues deserve patience, care, and reverent attention, even in the smallest gestures. Walking across a tatami mat or rising from a seated position is not merely a functional act. It is performed with a deliberateness that transforms simple motion into a form of daily meditation. Every step, every shift of weight from one leg to the other engages a network of muscles often taken for granted. The deep core, stabilizers that support the spine, the small stabilizing muscles around the ankles and knees, the intricate orchestration of the hips. This slow, mindful transfer of weight awakens the body's proprioceptive system, the subtle, often invisible sense that allows us to know where our body exists in space without looking. In older adults, this system can weaken, making falls a serious risk. Yet research consistently shows that gentle balance training strengthens these pathways, improving coordination and reflexive responses even late in life. There is an elegance in the intelligence of the body itself, a quiet choreography that unfolds when movement is performed with awareness. The body learns to trust its own signals, to respond with precision, and to remain steady even when the ground beneath shifts. It is not merely about avoiding injury. It is about cultivating a confidence in motion, a trust in the self that extends far beyond the mechanics of muscles and bones. Each measured step teaches the nervous system to integrate sensory input with muscular response, preserving agility, enhancing joint stability, and reinforcing the subtle interplay between strength and control. There is also a psychological resonance. Moving with care fosters patience, attention, and presence, reminding the mind that the act of being in the body is itself a practice. The seemingly ordinary motions, standing, stepping, balancing, carry within them a profound lesson. That stability is born not of force or speed, but of awareness, repetition, and respect for the body's natural capacities. In this way, every carefully measured movement becomes an exercise in resilience, a small but meaningful ritual that fortifies both body and mind, allowing the individual to navigate the world with grace, groundedness, and a sense of quiet mastery over the simplest of acts. The beauty of this practice lies in its subtlety. It does not scream for attention. It does not demand dramatic effort, yet it cultivates a strength that is enduring, elegant, and deeply human. In the daily life of Japanese elders, squatting is not merely an exercise or a convenience. It is a natural posture woven into the rhythm of living. From tending a garden to preparing food, from tying shoes to reaching low shelves, the body is frequently invited to bend, descend, and rise again in a controlled and mindful manner. Many of us have long abandoned this motion, perceiving it as uncomfortable or unnecessary, yet is one of the most profound ways to maintain the strength and mobility of the lower body. The knees, hips, and lower back, which often bear the brunt of aging and sedentary lifestyles, are engaged fully, but in a manner that respects their structure. Physiologically, squatting preserves cartilage by distributing weight evenly across the joint surfaces, reducing areas of concentrated stress that can lead to degeneration. Blood flow to the muscles, tendons, and ligaments of the legs is stimulated, carrying nutrients and oxygen to tissues that might otherwise stiffen or weaken over time. But beyond the biomechanics, there is a subtler, almost philosophical dimension to this practice. Squatting is an intimate dialogue with gravity. It teaches the body to move with awareness of the downward pull, to absorb it with balance, and to rise again with precision and control. Each descent is an invitation to listen to the signals of the muscles, tendons, and joints. Each ascent is a demonstration of the body's capacity to respond to force without strain. Over time, this daily engagement cultivates a remarkable resilience, not just in the limbs, but in the nervous system, which learns to coordinate complex movements seamlessly. There is an elegance in the simplicity of it. The body, in its natural design, is capable of bending and straightening, lowering and lifting, without the need for machines or heavy weights. The practice also encourages mindfulness. One becomes acutely aware of alignment, breathing, and timing, observing the sensations that accompany every controlled movement. In a broader sense, this posture reminds us that our bodies are not meant to remain rigid or distant from the ground. They're designed to interact with space, gravity, and environment continuously. Scientific studies consistently show that older adults who maintain regular squatting and low-sitting postures preserve joint mobility, reduce the risk of falls, and retain functional independence far longer than those who avoid such positions. Yet the practice transcends mere data. It embodies a philosophy of respect for the body's innate capacities. Every squat is a small affirmation of strength, flexibility, and harmony with one's own physiology. The motion teaches patience, attentiveness, and the quiet joy of discovering that the body, when nurtured with mindful movement, can sustain vigor and grace well into later life. Squatting, in its simplicity, becomes not just a physical exercise, but meditation on the elegance and resilience of the human form, a celebration of what it means to move fully, intentionally, and in balance with the forces that surround us. From the simple act of reaching for a shelf to lifting objects overhead, the daily motions of Japanese elders reveal an intentionality often absent in modern life. Their shoulders, elbows, and wrists move in flowing, continuous patterns, rotations that may appear modest to the observer but carry profound benefits for the body. These movements stimulate the synovial fluid within the joints, the vital lubricant that cushions surfaces and allows them to glide smoothly against one another. As we age, this fluid diminishes and stiffness sets in, limiting both mobility and comfort. By maintaining a practice of gentle rotation, joints remain supple, range of motion is preserved, and the risk of degenerative changes, such as arthritis, is significantly reduced. Scientific studies confirm what these daily rituals intuitively understand. Consistent, mindful motion is one of the most effective defenses against the gradual wear and tear of aging. Yet the practice extends far beyond biomechanics. Each rotation, each sweep of the arms, embodies a dialogue between the body and the mind, a subtle recognition that movement itself is an expression of both capability and presence. There is an elegance to the way the hands articulate through space, the way the shoulders extend and retract, as if rehearsing the balance between strength and flexibility. Philosophically, the hands are instruments through which we interact with the world, and when we move them with attention, we cultivate more than physical health. We cultivate grace, intention, and a sense of harmony with our surroundings. The small act of raising an arm, of tracing circles in the air, becomes a meditation on the intricate design of the musculoskeletal system, the interplay of bones, muscles, tendons, and connective tissue that allows for precise, coordinated action. Over time, these simple rotations teach a quiet lesson in respect for the body's innate wisdom. That mobility, when preserved, is freedom, and that freedom enriches every action, from the mundane to the extraordinary. There's also a neural component to these movements that is often overlooked. By repeatedly engaging the joints through their full range, the nervous system strengthens its mapping of body position, enhancing coordination and reducing the likelihood of injury. The act becomes a rehearsal for life itself, training both the body and mind to respond fluidly to the demands of daily tasks, to adapt to new challenges, and to maintain control over complex motions even as age advances. In essence, these rotations are an unassuming form of resilience, a quiet ritual that nurtures longevity while celebrating the body's capacity for elegance and utility. They remind us that health is not a product of extremes, but of continuous, mindful engagement, and that grace, like strength, is cultivated through patience, attention, and reverence for the simple acts of movement that sustain life. Finally, in the daily routines of Japanese elders, movement and breath are inseparable, intertwined in a rhythm that feels almost like a quiet conversation with the body itself. Every twist of the torso, every bow of the head, every flowing gesture of the arms or legs is harmonized with inhalation and exhalation, creating a subtle choreography that links the internal organs, muscles, and skeletal system in a single, fluid motion. This synchronization is more than aesthetic. It is profoundly physiological. The act of coordinating breath with movement enhances oxygen delivery to tissues, supports cellular metabolism, and promotes efficient circulation. Twisting motions massage the spine, encouraging spinal fluid to flow, while gentle bends and folds stretch and stimulate the abdominal cavity, supporting digestion and encouraging the healthy function of internal organs. Breath-centered movement also has a remarkable influence on the nervous system. Inhaling deeply activates the sympathetic system to energize the body, while exhaling slowly engages the parasympathetic system, promoting relaxation, lowering heart rate, and reducing stress. Science confirms what these simple, mindful gestures have long suggested, that controlled breathing and movement together foster resilience, improve cardiovascular health, and maintain mental clarity. Yet beyond the mechanics of physiology, there is a poetic insight embedded in this practice. Each inhale and exhale becomes a reminder that we are not merely bodies in motion, but vessels of air, fluid, and energy, participating in a continuous, dynamic dialogue with ourselves. Movement is not just action. It is expression, a way of acknowledging the constant ebb and flow of life within and around us. When elders twist, bend, and sway with breath as their guide, they cultivate awareness of the body as a living system capable of remarkable adaptation and resilience. It is a practice of presence, where attention is directed simultaneously to the sensations of muscles stretching, the rhythm of the heart, and the flow of air through the lungs. Over time, this conscious integration of breath and movement strengthens not only the physical body, but also the mind's capacity to remain calm, focused, and attuned. There is also an element of subtle artistry in this daily ritual. The motions become a meditation, each gesture telling a story of strength, flexibility, and harmony. In this sense, every movement carries layers of meaning: a physical benefit, a neural benefit, a psychological benefit, and a philosophical lesson about the interdependence of body, breath, and consciousness. To move while breathing with intention is to honor the body's design, to engage with the forces of gravity and air, to celebrate the vitality that exists even in the smallest, quietest gestures. It teaches that life itself is a flow, and that when we learn to move within that flow, we cultivate grace, resilience, and a deep, abiding connection to the living organism that we are.